Hey, Jimbo, you ready for this deal?
Fire in the hole.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, located right here in downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Hey, it's old Cody over here, and as always, I have my main man with me, Mr. Rodeo historian himself, Mr. Songwriter himself. In fact, if you're a singer looking for a song, he has like 30, 40 of them written. Jimbo Snively. Morning, Jimbo. Good to see you. Who do we have today?
Hey, Cody boy, it's another great day in Osage. And you mentioned sponsored by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum. We're also got a new sponsor, the Buck and Flamingo, right here in Pawhuska, Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah, the world-famous Buck and Flamingo. We picked them up as a sponsor. It's my wife's store, actually. I work there.
She let you work here?
I'm the only one that shows up to work. She sells jewelry on the internet every Sunday night. Buck and Flamingo on Facebook. Join her live sale. And in case all you guys that watch the podcast didn't know, we do own the largest turquoise store in the state of Oklahoma, the biggest selection. And just get a hold of us over at the Buck and Flamingo next time you're looking for a gift for that special someone. We'll be able to hook you up.
Or come visit the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum and then go over to the Buck and Flamingo.
I'd say so. That's a heck of a deal, Jimbo. Just get here.
Hey, Cody, we got Joe Cheshewalla with us today. You know, Joe's grew up here in Osage County. His dad was a roper, war veteran. Uncle Dugan was a veteran. Joe started out roping. He roped all over. Got tons of stories. Roped with all the great guys from around Osage County and around the state. And we're going to get into all those stories. But also, you know, here a couple of years ago, probably the biggest thing that's ever happened in Osage County in a long time was when they filmed the movie Killers of the Flower Moon. And Joe was right in the middle of all that. So he's got some good stories to tell us there. So, Joe, welcome to the Cowboys of the Osage podcast.
Well, thank you, Jimbo, and thank you, Cody, and thank you to the museum. Believe me, I've been waiting to do this since we wrapped the filming up a couple years ago, but finally got released to be able to do it, and looking forward to it, y'all, for sure.
Oh yeah, I saw him outside of Dry Hollow one night. I said, hey, let's slip over there and do a podcast real quick.
I'm surprised he showed up tonight.
I'm going to as soon as they release me.
Since the actors are on strike, I didn't know if he could do anything or not.
No, I'm not that far along yet. But yeah, I'll tell you what, it has been the gift that keeps on giving, because besides getting to work on it as a background actor, I also got to do some arts and crafts contributions to the costume department, and I'm still getting to do that now. Got to work on a series that's going to be coming up here this fall on Netflix, another Western. It's called American Primeval, and got to make some roach head dresses and got to make some breastplates for it. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to in the future is costume contributions. Pays real good.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, if there's any collectors out there, do you make it for collectors too, Joe?
Yes, and I make a lot of items for our dancers for our Elonska, our Elonska that we have in June, and then powwow season afterwards. A lot of people wear my work, and it's proud to get to see them going around wearing it. So it's a cool thing.
It is some beautiful work. I see it on Facebook every once in a while. Just beautiful roaches and different things.
You're a member of the Osage tribe, is that right, Joe?
Yes, sir, and worked for the minerals department up on the hill. I'm kind of a legacy employee. My mom worked as curator of the museum from 71 to 89, and I worked there from 84 to 2013, and I've been retired now for going on 10 years, and I've done 2 terms as a councilman for the Osage Minerals Council.
So you know a little bit about a museum. Actually, it was your first trip through the Ben Johnson Museum. What's your first impression of it?
Oh, you've done a marvelous job here. I mean, these are all my heroes I grew up with. Get to see all their stuff again. Especially, it brings back a lot of good memories for sure. And I think the more you add on, the better it's going to be.
Hey Joe, let's get it going. What's the Killers of the Flower Moon? What's the story all about? Fill everybody in that doesn't know the story, and you don't have to give us the complete story. You can give us the abbreviated version, or you can give us the long version. It doesn't matter.
It's the story about the Reign of Terror that happened during the 1920s with our tribe, and whenever we got rich on oil and gas, and all the bad stuff and murders and plots and conspiracies that took place then until we got the FBI. It was and it's also kind of one of the first big cases that the FBI really got involved in. And, well, we actually had to pay them to come here to do it, but that's what it mostly entails about, and it's about what happened over the Fairfax version of it. I mean, it happened in all three districts: Hominy, Pawhuska, and Fairfax. This is just the one that's made that they actually got a case about, and actually got some convictions and brought it to trial. But there was a lot more than just what happened within Bill Hale and the families over there at Grey Horse. I mean, but that's what it's about. It's about the Burkharts and Bill Hale and what went on over there at Fairfax and Grey Horse, and it's 3.5 hours long. It was I'll tell you what, it was really cool to see all of us in there. I got lucky and made a couple of scenes. It's the movie business itself. It's just it's something to see. I mean, every aspect of it. It just it'll kind of make your jaw drop at times. You're like, wow, I'm actually doing this. But then there's another part of it. It's just like hey, hell, rodeoing and jackpotting kind of prepared me for it all. I mean, it's you get ready and then you have to wait for 2 or 3 hours or longer to do something. So that's just like setting out of 400 or 500 team jackpot.
That's the worst part about going to a team roping, waiting to run your next steer. Honestly,
definitely. And, like I told everybody I was working with, hell, stage fright was burned off with entry fees. I mean, I was at home doing, getting performing, getting paid for it. So it's like, hey, that's a pretty good deal. Just give me another day of it.
What's the cast in that movie? It's an all-star cast. You couldn't pick a better cast, it doesn't seem like, and all the way right down to the director of it.
Oh yeah, the boss himself, Martin Scorsese. He's one of a kind. Just getting to work with him and getting to and doing a scene whenever we were the oil tycoons and we nailed it in 2 takes, and Marty's sticking his thumb up at us. Wow, that's about like having Leo Camarillo tell you good Luke, That's what I'd compare it to anyway. But that, and of course you have Leo DiCaprio, Jesse Plemons. Get this, Jesse's dad was steer roper, so of course we hit it off. We had plenty to talk about.
He told me they team roped. He never said anything about steer roping.
Yeah. Team roped and steer roped. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What was his dad's name? You remember?
Oh, I forgot. He's told me and I forgot.
Are they Plemons down there in Texas?
Yeah,
Is that their real
Plemons,
name?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's Lawson Plemons. I wonder if he's related to Lawson
Probably
and them
so.
down by Waco.
More than likely. Whenever you get down to it, it's still a small world.
Yeah.
It was even smaller back in the day, but yeah, he probably is. And then and Lily, get this. Lily's from the Gladstone family up north. You remember Jim Gladstone, world champion calf roper in '77? That's she's from that same family.
No kidding. Yeah. She's getting married to a guy that used to work for us in the pawn shop.
Yeah.
A kid from right here in town.
Yep.
Met old Lily Gladstone. Probably going to be an Oscar-winning actress here.
I felt like her part was the strongest of the movie. That was my feelings. And then of course you got the master himself, DiNero, Robert DiNero. And then you had of course Lily. And you had Cara Jade Myers and Tanto Cardinal. And one of the guys that most of us got to hang out with down at the bar for all that year.
Sturgill?
No, Ty.
Ty.
Ty plays a good role.
Ty Mitchell.
Yeah, Ty Mitchell. He plays a good role as John Ramsey.
Ty Mitchell, he came in the museum and he told me, after this movie comes out, if you don't hate me, I didn't do my job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he nailed his part.
What did he look like, Cody? Have I seen him?
Yeah. He's a very unique looking fella. He's very tall. He's got
Is he the old?
He's got a cloudy eye on one side. He looks like a real cowboy.
Yeah.
He lives in Marfa, Texas,
Yeah,
of
I
all
know where you're
places.
from.
But he's definitely, and in fact, while he was here, there was somebody walked in one of our stores, Jimbo, and they said, you know, last night I was staying at this little hotel down the street, and I could have swore I saw Ty Mitchell walk across the street.
You did.
I said, you did.
You did.
I said, he's here working on a movie, but Leonardo DiCaprio and all of them's here too. I said, you're the only one that I know of that's recognized Ty Mitchell so far. Brendan Fraser.
Oh, yeah.
From The
Brendan
Mummy?
Fraser, John Lithgow.
Hey, our good buddy Barry Corbin. He's in it.
Yeah, Barry Corbin's in it. I don't know this actor's name, but he played that the man that was in No Country for Old Men that Bardeen's flipping the coin about to see whether or not he's going to kill him.
Yeah,
that man. He played one of the Guardians. Ty, like I said, and Ty was in it. The other women, I think Cara Jade, she nailed her role as the partying wild older sister. I'll guarantee you that. I've been there, done that. So yeah, she nailed it.
You were the advisor for the partiers.
Consultant on that one.
What's that?
You were consulting on that.
Oh yeah, watching it. Oh, but now I was kind of a fly on the wall, see, because Johnny Williams, my cousin, he was a cultural advisor to the movie. And if there wasn't something that wasn't historically correct, I'd usually give Johnny a call after, or unless we really worked late or whatever, or I'd give him a call that, whenever I'd get done. Say, hey, Johnny, guess what? Well, one time, all the cowboy extras, they were all swinging nylon ropes the first day or two. I'm like, now come on now.
I heard they had the logo of the rope company on the tail of the rope, the plastic deal on the tail of the rope.
Tricks, and finally I called up Johnny. I said, hey, they're all using nylon ropes. And then the next thing you know, they've got rawhide ropes or they've got grass ropes. So took care of that. And then I noticed this just the other day I watched the FBI story and watched the episode that was in there about us from back in '59 with Jimmy Stewart. And I caught something in the background. And I'm like, okay, they copied that. They used a pipe trailer, with horses pulling it. But the thing about it was, with our movie, they were using black PVC pipe, and of course, whoa, that's another thing didn't come out till after World War II. So I was like, Johnny, guess what? So, I was always kind of doing stuff like that too. So
I'm glad you kept them straight. On that.
Hey, I got the most important question out of all
Yes,
on the cast of that movie.
yes.
We rented him our goat from the house, the only goat on set. Do you remember seeing a goat in the movie? I know it's 3.5 hours long, but this goat, he probably stole the scene if he's in it.
I don't remember a goat off the bat.
There was a farm scene somewhere.
Farm scene.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I'll guarantee you there for a lot of stuff we did wound up on the floor. We did some Masonic work over to Fairfax that I'll tell you two what, it was one of those I get it moments. It absolutely scared me to death. I was almost hyperventilating by the time we got out. Got done with the scene. I'm like, I want out of there. That never made it. I'll just wait and let you all see. That it's just like I don't know why that didn't make it, and all that work we did. Remember whenever we were working, like Thursday night into Friday morning and Friday night into Saturday morning for those street dance scenes. Y'all remember any of that?
Well, we wasn't part of the movie,
Well,
but there was a lot going on.
Yeah, but you can remember, they were those couple of nights we were working till 4 and 5 in the mornings.
Right.
Yeah. Heck, that only wound up about 30 or 60 seconds work, and it was mostly Leo and DiNero arguing. But that's the movie business.
All the dance was just background and just barely even knew what was going on back there. You just see it and knew it was a good dance going back there.
They got done with the actors after about an hour of that work, and then they told us the rest of the night, y'all just keep dancing, we'll keep filming. And you look up and it's 4 o'clock in the morning, like, okay, I think I've had enough.
Hey, Joe,
Yes.
can you believe as many bars as I've been in my life, I can't play pool or dance, so I couldn't even have been in that scene.
Well, that's one thing I can't say, you know. Yeah, I'll tell you what, this was funny was after a couple hours just walking back and forth, finally I looked at my partner. I said, "You tired of this?" She said, "Yes." And I'd had the good fortune to happen to get to work with the same lady for 2 nights, you know, as my wife in those dance scenes. So I said, "I'll lead." So we just jumped in with the dance crowd and we started dancing with them for the next hour and a half or so, you know, instead of just walking. So until I'm tired, like, okay, I've had enough.
What would a typical day be like? You'd have to get here early in the morning and
Yes.
then just wait?
Yes. Okay. Like I said, it's just if you just break it down to like going to a rodeo or a jackpot, it was just, you know, that's how I made it through it.
You know what I saw him do, Jimbo? I'm sorry. Hold your thought for 1 second. They'd get everybody here and they'd put them in all them 1920 thick wool clothes, and it's 150 degrees out here.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
then they'd make them stand around for hours on it.
Yeah.
That's what I observed.
That's it. Yeah, and that's the truth. You'd get a text on your phone, you know, be here anywhere from 4:30 to 6, and so you know I'd get there around 6ish or whatever because they didn't have to do a whole lot with me. They would pomade my hair down, comb it to the side, and put a little bit of makeup on, make sure I'd shave good, and then had to put on my suit. Like I said, the 3-piece suit, wool suit, shirt, tie, little fedora hat, felt, and then go eat breakfast. You dang sure wanted to eat breakfast because, yeah, you always got fed lunch, but lunch might come at 2:30 or 3 too. So eat breakfast, then go hop on the bus and go to the set wherever we were working at, and then like I said, you know, get there and then wait around, and a lot of times the work really wouldn't start till magic hour, and magic hour's from about 3 to 5. Everything's right with the sun, I guess, and you don't have to have as many different shades or whatever. And they have this one big shade that will take up a quarter of a city block. And
Yeah, it hangs off a big crane. I saw it.
Yep. They'll set it down whenever they really want to do some mid-morning afternoon work, just to keep that sun from getting, you know, in your in the camera's focus or whatever. Because that was how we did whenever we were working on the check writing scene or handing out checks. I got to do that scene. I got to hand out checks to everybody. It was head write check day. What was cool about that is pretty much knew everybody that's out in the crowd, and I knew their families, you know. So I'd like, oh, okay, strike axe, competent or guardian, you know, and saying stuff like that. And then somebody would come up, and we even actually had some archival paperwork. I mean, there was even some like, Bill Hell's name and stuff on some of them. Like, whoa, that came from the archives. From me working up there forever, I recognize that old government stuff. So yeah, so that was really cool 2 days of filming there. Whenever we were handing out checks, then the other really cool stuff is whenever we're in the pool hall there at where Jody's TV place is at. We did interrogation scene of DiNero in there, and did. Jesse busting Leo in there, or his Ernest character in there, and that's another scene. I'm one of the customers waiting to get a haircut, and I'm having to fold up my newspaper and get out of the way of all the deputies coming in there all around me. Even get a good profile of me, a side profile. So like, all right, I made it good there.
Cody, how many times are we going to have to watch the movie? Because we're going to be looking for everybody, you know.
Oh yeah, you're going to have to get it on DVD.
I know it, just over and over.
Just over and over, and pause and pause and pause. Because heck, a lot of the guys I grew up with are in it. I mean, the Shackford boys, they're in it a bunch. Tolly Redcorn, he's one of my. Well, Anthony's a fellow councilman. Everett's fellow councilman. Tolly's fellow councilman. They're all in it. Tolly and Everett, they have speaking roles in it.
It took Tall Lee all the way to Cannes Film Festival with him.
Yeah, Tall Lee and his brother.
Hey, and I saw him the other day with a hard hat on walking into work. At the new at
Yeah.
the coffee
Oh,
shop
yeah.
or whatever they're building down there.
Now, here's what was really cool that I never really got to mention to a whole lot of people about was my cousin Chad Renfro. He's one of the first ones that ever put the idea in anybody's heads, and that was at Redford's festival. What's it? Sundance.
Yeah.
And that was like 10 years ago or so. Almost, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it was close to that. And then it just, kind of got played from there until next thing you know, he's calling me up saying, hey, this one company's picked up the rights on it. Would you like to be a location scout? I'm like, tell me where, Some guy that's rode around Osage County all his life knows every back road, every lease there is, or every road that goes somewhere. Shoot, yeah, I signed up for that in a heartbeat. Got to do quite a bit of that work during this let me say that, 4 years ago. And then I knew that something's going to come with this, and then signed up for Freehofer casting, and then go out to the fairgrounds and do the audition stuff, and made the cut, and then had to wait a year or so until they actually did it. And the next thing you know, started getting texts saying, hey, you're in. Need to show up here. Like, all right, I'm going to find out what this is like.
So in the early 1920s, the Osage people, they became the richest people in the world per capita overnight.
Basically,
How did they become so rich overnight, Joe?
oil. The discovery of Burbank Field and Little Chief and all those early fields there. I'm like stuff up there at North Burbank. There were wells that were coming in at 3,500 a day.
What's some of the early oil companies that were here that we probably still hear of today?
Let me see. Phillips is still around. Phillips Sinclair. Most of the old time ones are.
But they got absorbed by another one that we've definitely heard of today.
Because there was even Standard Oil here. I've got a well on my land that's continuously produced since 1907 or 06. I'd have to look up the files like that thick on it. But anyway, J. Paul Getty drilled it. That's how long ago that was.
Getty Oil Company.
Yeah, Getty Oil Company. Getty Oil Company. One of the big ones years ago, up besides Phillips up there at Shiloh was Coon Oil. I always remember that name, Coon Oil. Then we had Union of California. They were down there at Hominy. Some like DX, Sunoco, they were out west, kind of right next to Phillips's Little Chief stuff. And
Well, how did the oil companies get this oil, and why did the Osage tribe benefit from this oil instead of what?
Okay, that happened.
How did they own the mineral rights, I guess?
That happened with our Chief Big Heart in 06 and 07 allotment, where instead of like how the state opened up Indian land to land runs and other stuff like that, that didn't happen here. They give us each allotted tribal member at that time, which there was like 1,027 that signed up. You got a full section of land and a head right. And what Chief Bigheart had done was he'd secured the mineral rights, subsurface rights for the tribe in perpetuity.
There's not another tribe that has that, I don't believe.
And believe it or not, that's what worked with whenever the oil boom came in.
I wonder what made him think to do that. That was before the oil
Yes,
boom.
before they was even drilling for oil.
I know.
That's the thing. It was maybe the water. What was it?
I don't. Yeah, that's just like that's something that you'd have to find out from somebody that knows more about it than me. It's like,
Do they explore that in the movie right there?
No.
Why he decided to do that?
No.
Okay.
All where the movie starts from, how it starts from is whenever we're coming down from Kansas. I mean, they don't say it, but all of us that grew up around here knows it. We're coming down from Kansas, and they bury a pipe and medicine bag, and what that symbolizes is their putting away the old ways, and they're going to embrace, the new ways and the new century. But everybody's, crying and mourning about it. It's, pretty sad start to the movie. And then it goes from there to the 20s, and then how the oil booms hit, and everybody's driving around in Duesenbergs and Mercedes, and just the wild.
We had Rolls Royces here, Pierce
we
Arrow.
had a dealership here, a Rolls dealership here.
Do they show that in the movie?
No, they
like
just,
a Pierce Arrow dealership.
They do show stuff. They show some
across the
big,
street. They
giant
had a
cars.
Pierce Arrow dealership on the second floor of this building across the street from
and
here.
and we had.
It still has the car elevator in it.
We had Dodge over here at Plymouth. We had Cadillac. We had Chevy. We had Ford. Even whenever I was growing up.
Somebody told me something. I don't know if it was a wise tale or not. The first cars other than black that Henry Ford made was for the Osage people because they wanted a red one.
That's
or
the
something.
story I've always heard. That is the exact story.
When the richest people in the world want a red car, they're going to make a red car.
Yeah, they're going to make a red car, definitely.
I mean, would you say it was sort of like maybe how Saudi Arabia or some of those Middle East countries are? They went from from nothing, and then all overnight they're the richest people in the world now.
Right. It was okay. My granddad, Gerard Blackbird, my mom's dad, he went everywhere from being in a little roundhouse camp out to Gray Horse to flying to seeing man land on the moon. So that's what he's seen in his lifetime. He was a teenager during that the Reign of Terror. My granddad Cheshewalla, Dad's dad, he would have been in his 20s whenever that was going on and going through what happened over here in Pawhuska. I can remember, I think, Granddad lived through 3 liquor poisonings, I believe. Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah. Granddad was a sporting man, Granddad Cheshewalla. He raised horses. Now, here's something else, too, we got to get into. Back then, it was kind of an old-time Indian thing about your wealth and all. But generations before us, my dad and Dad's dad, and even before that, there was a lot of horses being raised here. I mean, pretty near all your Indian families had a horse herd. And if you look back in some of these books and what it took to have a wedding, well, I've seen pictures of like 40 horses tethered up, all of them haltered, standing there in a line, and they're getting ready to be given away for the wedding. And every one of them quarter-type looking horse. And this is the 20s and 30s. So we were breeding quarter horse types here and having, little old short races and stuff going on way before. Our herd, it was pasture registered by an inspector, from the Quarter Horse Association. We're not the only Indian family that was like that. Yeah, there's something else, hell. Everybody raised their own horses back in the day.
What's pasture registered? Tell everybody what that is, because now I don't even know what you got to do. I think you got to pull one of your horse's hairs out and the hair out of the stud and everything, and make sure the DNA checks out. And
back then, I mean, heck, I've got some papers that the grandma, the grandam on one side, it just said Wagashi Mayor, or Cunningham Mayor, or Big Horse Mayor. Yeah, it was just from somebody's Indian herd. But what the inspector would do back then is, come up there from College Station, go out there and visually inspect the herd and look for the right conformation and size and everything else. And if they pass the test, all right, they're pasture registered. And that's kind of how it went back in the good old days, back in the early start of the Quarter Horse Association.
I saw a picture of Joe Hancock himself running a race right here in Pawhuska.
We had one time, I think Blue passed through our place, and one time we even Uncle Pete had him, and then we had him for a while, bred him some mares, Leo, before Bud Warren got him. Yeah.
Yeah, Leo, I think, spent the majority of his life right here in Pawhuska, actually.
That's what old Joe was out of, Fairfax Joe. My Uncle Pete Williams, which was Johnny's dad. Gosh, that's kind of one of the places where I was just, whatever horses they didn't work out with them, we wound up with. But his herd originally started from his wife's granddad's herd, which was down there on the river. That went back to Nike Washiatunka. I mean, that's crazy. Osage was raising horses forever. and quarter type horses. And something you can do something on, definitely. But yeah. Oh, we better get back to the movie. I got some off. Like I said, once I get going, we could do this all.
Well,
day long.
it's an Osage giving a horse away during a wedding to the bride's family.
Yes, and
You got to trade.
And we still do that. We still do a version of that whenever we're paying for the drum. We still bring young girls out in wedding coats and a horse or horses, just however much you want to feel like you want to pay for it. Whenever the drum gets passed from one drum keeper to the next, from one young man to the next, after usually a portion of about 3 to 5 years.
What's a drum warmer, Joe?
That is something that I've got to do now. I got to do with my granddad for King Bowman, and I've got to do for the last 5 drum keepers in a row. We look after the drum and we tune it, get it, take it back and forth up to the arbor. With that rawhide, if you don't take care of it good, it's going to come out there and be flatter than all get out. You gotta get it warm, get it tight. Anybody that's worked with rawhide, you know what I'm talking about. And it just makes it go better. The singers sing better. Their voices don't go hoarse, and they're not looking hateful at me come Sunday. But it's kind of one of them, a family position that, like I said, my granddad before me, he was a drum warmer for like 5 different drum keepers, and I've been drum warmer for 6.
You mentioned headright a while ago.
Yes.
What is a headright for everybody that doesn't know what one is?
That is a full headright is a portion we get every quarter, which is it'd be December, March, June, and September, and it's the payments we get from the dividends of the oil and gas industry. We get 1/6 royalty, like from every 6 barrels that's produced, we get 1 of them, and that's the dividends that we get divvied out amongst the shareholders of our tribe. There was, like I said, originally 1,000, 37, 27 or whatever, and that's been broken down through the families through then. Some of us have full ones, some of us have portions, some of us have multiples.
Some people have none.
Yes, and some people have none. Yep.
I married to one.
And some people that don't have any business with them have some. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. What do you think the movie's how's it going to be accepted?
I think it's at first a lot of people were kind of worried about it, but I think it's going to go over fine. The way that Hale's portrayed and the way that Burkhart's portrayed, I don't think it's going to ruffle too many feathers. I'll just put it that way. And everybody's going to enjoy getting to see each other on the big screen. You're going to get to see all your friends and folks you grew up with, and the background. There's all kinds of stuff you're going to recognize. Hey, that's so and so's place, or And
how beautiful does the Osage look with Martin Scorsese's cinematographic
They did
talent?
a good job, real good job, I believe. And they showed Osage County like it's supposed to be.
The weather was pretty wild that year on them. It was either hot or raining or
get this
windy or cold. I mean, they give Oklahoma threw all of Oklahoma's weather at them. I felt like the whole time.
My daughter Liz, my youngest, she got to work as a production assistant on it. She got to start in April over at Gray Horse, over at a place, kind of catty corner from the Gray Horse Cemetery. They worked some scenes there, and they had all kinds of trailers parked there and all. And she went from getting snowed on that first week to like in a week or 10 days time getting a sunburn. From getting snowed on to a sunburn. And then next thing you know, we're back in Pawhuska, we're starting to work in Pawhuska. We get through about a week and a half, and all of a sudden we hit one of those times where it rained so much that it almost flooded out Tent City. And then after that, it seemed like we didn't have any spring at all. We just went straight to summer. And well, I'll tell you what, I'm used to it because, dancing in during June, so I'm used to wearing buckskin or broadcloth. But instead of going around constantly going in and out of them little air-conditioned trailers they had us in, which, didn't help a whole lot, I'd just kind of stay out in the shade where the wind was blowing, and just stay used to it. That just, like I said, just like being at a roping again. It's like, why go in and out, with the AC and then have it hit you and then you're just miserable. You just get acclimated to it.
They say that new Sylvester Stallone show, Tulsa King, after he spent a season here in Oklahoma, he told him if he wants him to do it, they got to film it some other place besides Oklahoma. Just pretend like it's Oklahoma.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
What all them stars think about our weather here in Oklahoma?
Oh, especially like the ones that were from up north, they said, no, we've never experienced anything like this. And a lot of the support crew that, worked here, all your, different, your best boys and grips and all that stuff, they're like, yeah, well, I'm used to Arizona heat, not this heat, yeah.
The ones from Atlanta, they fared all right, but all the rest of them, they're about to melt, Jimbo.
Yeah, that humidity is what gets them.
Definitely.
What about old Martin Scorsese? Did you get to meet him? Mm-hmm. Talk with him? What kind of old boy is he?
Oh, he's one of those kind of intellectual types, He's real soft-spoken guy. And a lot of times whenever I'd get to talking to him, I was just, that was the one guy out of all of them that kind of awe-inspired me. Sometimes I'd catch myself almost just stuttering trying to talk to him, But yeah, he was, his knowledge of the movie business, it's fun to watch him in action, I'll tell you what, definitely.
I accidentally almost took him out. Did you know that?
What'd you do?
Oh, my gosh. I was across the street from him. Me and all the girls, we were watching a scene being filmed or something, and he was walking back to his trailer. And I yelled, Marty, Marty. And my wife said, we love you, Marty. And he turned around and waved at me. And you know how a gooseneck trailer, it goes up and, it hits you about right there.
Yeah.
He was turning around waving at us right about the time he was getting to that gooseneck trailer, and a guy grabbed him, saved him from taking his head off, walking under the gooseneck. So about took him out, but I didn't, thank goodness.
Good. I'm glad you didn't.
Thank goodness.
You mentioned the tent city down there. What all were they doing in there?
Okay.
It was huge.
Yeah.
I know, it's unbelievable.
They said it was air conditioned, these huge tents.
And what got me was how we didn't use the old Safeway building. We just
Made tents outside.
I didn't, but anyway, okay. The tent that went east and west, that was the costume tent, and that's where we'd go in there and get our costume every day. You had a number, and mine was M137. M137. They'd come, bring me my stuff, and you'd go to wait till you could find a dressing room, go in there and get dressed. Then you'd go to the other tent, the one that was going north-south. That was the makeup and costume stuff. That's where they give you a shave if you needed it, or like I said, pomaded your hair, got it all up, got all the women makeup on them, and got everybody looking like 1920s, and then out you went. And it's time to go eat breakfast. So yeah, that's what those two tents were. Was makeup and costume.
Did you ever see any girls pass out just being in Leo's presence? Oh my God, there's Leo.
I've seen a lot of them just, get all blushed in the face and doing all that kind of stuff. But no, nobody ever did anything like that. Everybody was just, everybody's too worried about trying to get on, I guess, maybe I'll be in this scene.
I thought it was amazing what they did with the old train depot.
Oh, tell me about it. Just overall, it'll really impress y'all how they made Pawhuska look like old time Fairfax. I mean, they pulled it off. They really did. And that depot scenes, yeah, it was something how they did that. Bring those trains in and just lay about 100, 200 yards of track down, and they'd just go back and forth. And
even the background shots, it didn't look like that area.
No.
How they did that.
I do not know how they pulled that off. And one other cool thing is, be sure and watch all the credits, because you'll get to read all our names and different places in there. But we got to do that dance in May last year, and that was for the ending credits of the show for the movie. But while we're getting dressed, one of the ADs comes down there and says, "Hey, are any of y'all wearing brass bells? Because Marty wants that sound for the ending credits." So of course, who's got brass bells on? Me and Trey Powell and Ross Mashunkshay. So besides our outfits and our dancing clothes on, we're all mic'd up. We've got wires running through us and all, so they can, especially right there where our bells are at. So that was really cool. One last thing they could use me for. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I hadn't had that much fun since I was roping and rodeoing all the time. It just, something I've always wanted to do. Believe me, ever since the Duke made the Cowboys, I'm like, man, those guys are all my age, know, and especially back whenever Johnny Joe was coming back and forth here back then. He was always bringing somebody that was either in the movies or some roper with him. So it's like, yeah, heck, I want to do this, And heck, if I'd have known what I'd known, if they'd done this 30 years ago, I had a cousin that was living out in Dana Point. Well, hell, I'd have loaded, after we got done with this, I'd have loaded up the gooseneck that I'd won with 4 horses, and I'd have headed out west. Tried to get in the movies and go to jackpots. But then, back then, everything flipped on its head, turned into a handicap, roping turned into golf.
Right.
Johnny Joe, tell everybody, Jimbo, who Johnny Joe is he's talking about real quick.
Well, he was a local boy, born and raised here in Pawhuska. His dad was Marion Miller. I knew his dad real well. And he and his brother Benny Bob and sister Ann. And he went to California. I don't know what was he. He finished high school here before he went. Yeah. And then he went out there and he just gradually, it wasn't long, he was setting the world on fire out there, him and Ace Berry. And,
and
two-time world champion team roper.
Ace Berry was like, one of my...
And he's a member of the Johnson family, too.
Yeah, and he's nephew to Ben Johnson, grandson to...
Right-hand man. He's Ben's right-hand man for sure.
Yeah.
Him and Benny Bob.
I had to emulate Ace Berry whenever I was a junior rodeo, when I was a bareback rider and team roper. Just,
What's your first memory of wanting to be a roper or roping?
Oh, gosh. It was just, grew up with it.
Yeah, it was just always there, wasn't it?
Yeah, from the time I was just a little bitty kid, I was putting Dad's boots on, and next thing you know, they had me on a Shetland, and Dad was roping from the 30s, 40s, 50s, up into the 60s, roped calves, ribbon rope. Mom ran for him. Then it was a team tying era. Then after that, Dally. That's whenever I came in, was about 1 year after they quit tying the knot around here. So that's all, all I ever knew. And just, you grow up around the likes of George Hinkle at the house and Charlie Whitehorn and Little Joe Snively, your uncle. He was always out the practice pen. Back in the day, you had your Roundup Club pens, and then you had our pen and John Tallchief's pen. And they were, big enough to trip steer or team tie in. So, hell, that's where everybody was at, practice. I grew up with all them guys out to the practice pen. Dwayne Ramey, Sonny Gould, Johnny Joe, Little Joe, Billy Joe Dillbeck, McGuire, Gene Herron. It was just constant influx. And then we used to even winter the Roundup Club steers. So we were roping all winter when there was a nice day. So it's just, my brother roped and roped barebacks before me. So it just, just family thing. Grew up into it. Is all I knew.
You were mostly a team roper, weren't you?
Yeah, and rope calves.
You were left-handed. Did that hinder you some in the team roping?
Not in the team roping. Mm-hmm. Not in the team roping. The other events, yeah, a lot of times,
You didn't head left-handed, did you?
If the arena was round and Joel Maker was there, yeah. It didn't matter,
I saw one guy, he would head left-handed, then flip his rope over his horse's head and...
I didn't do that. I just ducked. Because like I said, if the arena was round, I'd interrupt both ends. I couldn't wait to get into steer stopping.
I don't know much about team roping, but it always looked like a left-handed hitter would be a pretty good lick to me.
You think?
But you don't see it.
Not too many.
No. They teach their kids to rope right-handed now if they're left-handed. But, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Indoor pins.
A guy asked me the best advice for a left-handed roper the other day. He was for his kid. His kid was left-handed. I told him break his left arm, make him rope right-handed.
See, that's what happens there. But yeah, I'll tell you what, God bless Jimmy Brazil's all I know, and Pake McIntyre for trying to trip left-handed. My goodness.
They both made the national finals left-handed.
Yeah, I mean that was one achievement there to make the finals left-handed the way things are. It's tripping.
Pake's my hero. He won Pendleton left-handed and won the Ben Johnson
right-handed. Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Craziest thing I ever heard.
That's
Jimbo.
talent, is what that is.
Yep.
But I can remember. I can remember a lot of ropings that Jimmy Brazil should have won, and then draw one of them steers that hugs the fence.
Who was the good calf roper back like in the late 80s, early 90s?
James Zant.
Left hand. I know you know him. God, that guy roped good. Made the national finals several times.
Yep. And then, back then there was me. There was Tars Foreman, Rick White, Charlie Pogue's dad, Bill Pogue. And that's about it, really. I mean, maybe I'm forgetting one, but those are the ones that I considered that could rope like myself. There's some other guys that could swing a rope left-handed, but there wasn't a whole lot of. Oh, and Alan Hartness, but Alan was calf roper. Mostly. Now Alan team roped some, but whenever junior rodeoing, but he's calf roper and damn tough.
A lot of the big, he's AQHA world champion. Alan, he has AQHA world champion horse, Alan Hartness. Mm-hmm. But a lot of big names used to pass through here back before team roping became completely mainstream. Oh. Like over there at Danny Bob's place, they say Clay O'Brien Cooper, all of them used to come here,
especially for the jackpot. The night before the Eric Ben Johnson stuff started, back whenever they had calf roping and the tripping, Friday night they'd have Slim's all nighter, and they were all there. It wasn't nothing to see Clay. Anybody from the top 15 there, they were there, definitely. All the IRA guys, definitely.
You were roping with Joel, he was there.
Oh, yeah, the make, definitely the make.
I've been seeing him here and there. He's been passing through. We're getting real close to getting a podcast with Joel Maker, Jimbo. If we can all get on the same page, we can get it done pretty easy. But
hold him down long enough, get him going, then you never get him shut up.
You mentioned Slim's. Where else around here did they rope?
Oh gosh, Dwayne's.
That's the place I live.
Heard of that place?
Yeah, Dwayne. I think I was there the first time Dwayne actually even had a practice session. I mean, they just got the chutes together, and he had like a little door for the chute instead of how they are nowadays.
Step back.
Yeah, a little step back door.
I never did rope there, but they had a place out here west of town, Shaw's.
Oh yeah, Shaw's. Yeah. Yep.
It had a lot of
John
team
Shaw's.
out there.
Won a trailer from there.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, should have won 3, but I won 1.
He was a nice man.
Oh yeah, and Blackie's, we roped at Blackie's.
Yeah, Blackie's. There used to be an arena right here west of town. It seems like on the north side of the road they had a couple steer ropings at just right off the highway.
Oh, that was Ellis.
Oh yeah, Ellis Thomas.
Ellis Thomas.
Had a little arena
right.
there.
Right.
And then of course Paul Jean had his indoor pen. It was later, like 90s.
Cucklebur Junction came along.
Oh yeah, Cucklebur Junction, man. There was all kinds of big ropings there.
I helped weld those pins up.
Sandy Morris over to Fairfax. Of course, Tall Chiefs. The Saturday night popcorn sack ropings at Winona.
Had an indoor arena in Oshaleta.
Yeah, that was Saturday nights.
Yeah.
Saturday night team roping, and I think Tuesday night calf ropings.
Yeah.
I believe. Gerald Eastman.
Boy, those days are gone, aren't they, Joe?
They are gone. It just, yep.
All these little jackpots have been replaced by mega jackpots. It seems like, and you got to drive hours and hours and hours to get to them.
It's like me and your dad.
Used to be 20 of them right here within 20 minutes.
Yeah, me and your dad was talking about it at the cavalcade last week. Said, them U.S. ropings, they're good and all. They were good for some people, but around here it killed our way of life off. And you can go to one, but if you don't do something at it, well, you've spent a month's worth of entry fees pretty much, and you can't go do nothing then. It's can't afford it. It's a rich man's deal now.
Cavalcade just wound up a while back. What can you remember about the cavalcade?
Oh gosh, let me see. I remember when it was way wilder than it is now. I mean, it was as crowded back then as it is now, but it was wilder.
It was pretty wild this year. I think they lie flatted people out. They took 3 people out. One wreck on the track. They were taking people out left and right this year. That ambulance kept the road hot.
Back in the day was camp life after the rodeo.
They had those green army tents back there. didn't they?
Yeah, and parties everywhere.
Yeah.
And it went on till the law shut you down about 4 o'clock. So, all right, time to go home, you know. Everybody would leave that wasn't camping out there, staying or passed out.
Now you're not allowed to go to the camps unless you're camping
No.
there. You got to have a
I
special
remember leaving
armband.
DI in Bartlesville and driving through the cavalcade. You know,
Yeah.
that's just part of the night.
Oh,
Saturday
yeah,
night.
yeah. Or, you know, going to some rodeo somewhere else and getting unloaded, and then, hell, let's go to camps, you know, and then go on out to the cavalcade for the rest of Saturday night. Oh, yeah, it just, you know, different world now. Back in the day, we all made the rounds, you know. It wasn't just, wasn't just going to the roping or the jackpot. Well, that's, you know, hit someplace on our way home.
Another open you didn't, arena you didn't mention was DeWitt's.
Oh, gosh, how could I forget Craig's Sunday ropings? Those were the best, especially whenever he went to once a month.
He was out there on Highway 20, Cody,
Yeah.
west of Albany.
I was the only guy that came in from the north. Everybody else came in from the highway, but DeWitt was one of my country neighbors. I could get to his place on
Right.
the back roads, so I'd pull into there from there. Oh yeah, 400 teams was a small roping. They'd usually have 500, 600. Oh, it's something else. And then cross the river over to Blackburn, you'd have Mutt Dixon, Jody Denny. They had jackpots over there, trailer ropings. Oh yeah, it just take your pick back then. It really was. That, and then, you know, you got to throw in your open rodeo or IRA rodeo or Indian rodeo, and that's all you did.
Did you ever go to Bushy Head, Joe?
Oh, God. Why did you even bring that up?
I don't know.
You remember.
No, I don't know. I'm
don't-
just asking. I'm just.
You don't remember me losing my rope to win it whenever you and John Starr were riding home with us.
Oh, I was.
You was a little bitty kid. You was a little bitty fart then. Yeah. No, I won around there one time, broke out to win around, but I lost my rope in the short round to win the damn thing one year, or at least win second, because, see, the only other team that was left was Tim Fanning and Danny Presley. And they didn't have but like a half second or whatever on us. Yeah, I lost my rope and a ton of money. Ugh.
Jimbo, give us a little history lesson about this Bushy Head roping.
Well, it's Clem McSpadden deal, you know, and he had, and I never was over there for the team roping, but they had real good steer roping and cab roping over there.
Barrel race, too.
Barrel race. It was big time.
What was the barrels out there? What the heck was going on
The
with that
third barrel
race?
was the pond.
Was one of them like a round bell or something? Or
There
the
was
first two
actually
were
a couple
barrels?
of barrels out there, but they were, you know, almost quarter mile between one another, and the third barrel was the pond. So you could either just go on through the pond or go up around the dam. I'll tell you who used to beat their butts yearly at it was Terry Arndt. I mean, that horse she rode, that was his lick now, was let's run away and run barrels out in the pasture. She won it 2 or 3 years running, I think.
This billed as the world's richest roping, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Oh,
World
yeah,
Richest
calf
roping.
roping was, definitely. Oh, and
So-
they roped some big old mushy.
Yeah, always
calves.
known for the big calves over there, you know.
Yeah.
All the calf ropers would come too, all the big
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah. Dean Oliver used to go over there. He was way past his prime then, but he still went over there.
Probably Super Looper.
Oh,
Imagine
yeah.
he was there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember like some of the last ones that were there was like whenever Fred was just starting to go. And, you know, guys that age.
Would they have a big crowd at those deals?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, and that pasture open, yeah, it was. It'd be, you know, 3 or 4 layers of cars going all the way from the chutes clear down to the end of the fence line. I mean, it was just, yeah. Sometimes all there was a rope going down one side, and sometimes steer jump it. There you'd have to go after him. You know, look out.
What was a good time at Bushy Head back then? How far did they score them?
101 foot.
Oh,
20s was a good, consistent time. We snuck up on one time and was like 15. I mean, you could actually draw one that just went out there and stopped and wanted to try to graze or look around. You snuck up on him, you could be fast. I think there's been, you know, some runs right at 9 or 10 over there on some cattle that were really, you know, that didn't know what was going on. But usually 20 was a good consistent run over there.
I have to say you had a lot of speed going on if you was 9 on
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Holy moly.
Yes, sir.
You had a lot of speed going by the time you caught up to that booger.
You know, and nowadays, isn't there like some sort of different shoe that they wear up at Pendleton?
You know, it seems like a lot, they were taking out the back 2 nails on every, or 1 nail on every shoe in the corners and replacing it with an ice spike.
That's what I was reading about. Yeah,
But I think a lot of guys now, they're going back to natural. They're taking the shoes off their horse, saying that's how horses know how to run on natural grass without shoes on, barefooted. So there's a lot of guys just not using shoes up there now. So I don't know what I use the ice spikes when I was up there.
I
don't know
never,
if it's
never
good or
bothered
bad.
me. I, grew up at the pasture, so it didn't bother me to.
I was a little
go flat
nervous,
out
about
on
my
one.
horse interfering with himself, crippling himself with one of those ice spikes. But I always used them because I thought,
Yeah, most people did
thought that's
back
what I
then.
was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Now I've been over there a time or two, like whenever Ed and Johnny Joe were entered, and they brought some of them really high-powered studs they had, down there at Gaylord's. I'm like, why are you wanting to ride that horse over here? I'd sure enough be afraid if he'd, overreached or whatever, crippled themselves. But, it's like, hell, whatever works for you, I guess.
Did you rope down to Lazy E much?
Yes, I sure did. Used to go down there to all their winter jackpots whenever they'd have them in, February every year. It was fun.
That's a fun place to rope. I mean,
Not a better place in the country to rope. Besides Delbert Kyler's place out there.
I never did get to rope Delbert. I'd quit by the time he got that arena. But It looks good.
Another great place to rope, Andrews, Texas, they built a big indoor arena there. It's just good to rope in. Roper-friendly arena, it seems like. Good place. But not as good as a Lazy E, for sure.
My lazy, it was built for it.
Do you know Ben Johnson any?
Yes, I remember. Yeah, I remember him as son.
Yes,
He's
sir.
a year. Let me see. He's a year older than my dad. His dad grew up around him, and anytime he'd ever be in town, usually
Did you ever get to see him rope?
once or twice back whenever he was doing those celebrity
Celebrity.
things. Never got to see him in his prime, but whenever he'd be in town, he'd usually be down there at the barber shop, sitting there, be waving at people driving by. So, oh, look, son's in town. And I grew up with his nephews. So I grew up with the Christian family. Junior rodeoed with Dale Jr. and Ben, and so I'm well versed with that crew. Knew them all my life.
Local heroes around here.
Oh,
Definitely.
No doubt about it.
yeah,
Definitely.
for sure. One other arena you didn't mention was down at Tony Maker's. And, I've been down there at Tony's, but I don't even know if I could find that arena now.
Oh, yeah, you could. But, Joel never did really have much of a pen down there. He was always, hell, he'd come up to the house quite a bit.
Yeah, but Joe used to go down there and practice a little bit, and tie a few steers down there. It was big enough to tie steers in,
Yeah.
I remember that, but I couldn't even get there now.
Oh, it's behind the prison.
Yeah.
Behind
I
the
knew it was
prison.
out that way.
Yep. Go, and instead of going on up the hill, you'd take a ride on one of the section line roads.
Yeah.
You'd drive right by it.
Were you a big steer roping fan growing up?
Oh, yeah. I mean, back in the day, Ben Johnson was the roping back then. This is how it'd go. My folks would wake up real early Sunday morning, go out and either take the trailer and park it out there, or take the truck and leave it out there, and then come back, spend the rest of the morning cooking stuff, take a big meal out there, and my granddad Blackbird would come over because it was Father's Day weekend, and he'd come over and watch 1 or 2 rounds and then go home. So, and then we'd be out there, the rest of the week, the rest of the steer open. So then there'd always be some sort of pot you could enter, amongst everybody that was parked down through there.
Yeah, a little gambling up there in the stands.
Always.
Friendly wagers. So give you someone to pull for.
Right.
Extra.
Get to see who went for the most in the Calcutta. And then, later on, older I got, once it'd be short round, that break there in the short round, had to go up to the beer stand, and Dad get to see his buddies he rodeoed with, and I'd get to see my buddies I rodeoed with. So we'd be just sitting up there, just chewing the fat for 15, 20 minutes till the short round's ready to go.
Remember when they used to have that calf scramble?
Yes, that'd be that time
Yeah.
right then. Yep.
They brought, what was that? Where was that
was a
school?
boys'
from?
camp.
Yeah, the boys' camp somewhere, Cody.
Yeah.
And they'd bring them in here during the short go, between the short go and they'd turn them calves out in that big old arena, and all these boys would just take after them. It is a real crowd favorite.
Oh, yeah.
I can't
Yeah, they
think,
said they got to keep the calf or something.
yeah, I can't think of the name of the school.
Is there a boys camp around here anymore?
Well,
Boys
this
ranch
is
anymore?
over east somewhere, I think,
Yeah.
southeast or somewhere.
I can remember it plain as day, but I
Yeah,
don't
me
remember
too.
the name of it
I can't
now.
either, but people loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, except you were at the beer stand.
Definitely. I lucked out. I fell into that age group that when they lowered it to 18, I was 18, and when they bumped it back up to 21, I turned 21. So I never got turned down.
You'll see everyone you ever knew in life. You stand at a beer stand long enough, Jimbo.
Probably.
Definitely. Especially at a rodeo. Guarantee you that.
Isn't it crazy how small of a world rodeo is? I guarantee if you know a rodeo somebody, if you don't know them at all, you know somebody that they know, or they know, or they know. You know, when you put two and two together, and you
yeah.
can usually find a common friend somewhere in that. I mean, it's just funny how that works. You know.
The guys I made the first short round with at the Cavalcade and the junior calf open, I wound up running around with, friends with, for the rest of my life. It's crazy. And it was almost like, from my era, it's like a who's who of rodeo at that time. It was like, let me see, there was like me and Alan and Will Lunsford and Little Terry, Post-Rack, and Don West Boy and Ricky Henderson, maybe like Racy Forrest, Hank Hines. They're just crazy.
Hard to get a check anywhere.
Yeah, it's like, all these guys, and we all made short round together. And it's like the same crew that I, grew, from then on, kind of grew up with and ran around with from then on.
I wonder if
Crazy.
there's ever been any world champions come out of the cavalcade.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Definitely was. Like I
We've
said,
seen T. Woman's name in the books. We don't know if he's ever won the cavalcade. I asked Jim Davis if he ever won the cavalcade.
No.
We've been trying to find out if a world champion has
Yeah,
ever won the
little
cavalcade.
Terry roped in it a couple of times. Of course, Charlotte. Trying to think on the PRCA boys. Can't think of any just right off the bat.
You know who you mentioned a while ago we hadn't really talked about a whole heck of a lot on this show?
Who?
John Tallchief. Boy, howdy, was he not a good fella.
Yeah.
I sure like John
Oh,
Tallchief.
man.
And his
yeah.
brother George too.
The whole family. See,
They used to have big roping for him every year on his birthday.
there was like 5 or 6 of them Tall Chief brothers. Yeah.
John, he made the national finals.
Yep. John made national finals, and like I said, had one of the bigger pens around here that you could trip steers
We
in.
used to have club roping over there. Mm-hmm. Had big old trees. I remember shaded the box and stuff. It was a
Yeah,
nice-
that was
and
during his
always have a
birthday.
barbecue to go with it.
Biggin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Biggin.
Yeah. Used to, he'd have Sunday ropings back whenever I was like my first year of college. So and Tall Chief's another place. It's just it's like 20 miles from my place out in the country.
You could take all dirt roads there.
Yeah, I
couldn't you?
went to all dirt roads to it. I'd rope at it, then leave from there and go on to Claremore, down to college. So yeah, hell, I had a lot of good memories from Tall Chiefs. Besides the roping, they'd have a little Calcutta going too. So you could buy yourself an it, and a lot of them double up, win part of the rope and win part of the Calcutta.
Yeah, if I had enough money, usually I would always buy myself in the Calcutta about any roping I was at. Just I was already there.
Yeah.
Betting on myself.
like entering twice.
And
Yeah.
what about how you can enter twice at these ropings nowadays?
Hey,
That's
why not?
wild. Or you can like enter on a different horse or whatever. It's like, wow, that's something. If you got the money, I guess go for it.
Yeah, if you're already there.
Yeah.
rope
I'll
as
tell you
much
what I
as
really
can.
miss around here is good calf ropings. Man, we used to have some good calf ropings around here. Especially that one before the steer open. They'd have a match, and they'd have like 3 and a short. Fresh calves, too. Oh, it was fun to watch. And all the big timers won it. Ferguson, Phil Line, Roy. Hell, Little Terry won it a year. Who else? They all showed up for it. It was I enjoyed the calf roping dang near as much as I enjoyed the steer roping back in the day.
Well, and before that, the generation before that, you had Jim Bob and Olin and Sonny Davis, because they were calf roping anyway, and they were here for the steer roping, and they made it tough.
Oh, yeah. You know, and back then, getting back to talking about left-handers, there was always Ronnie Sewall and Bob Ragsdale. They made the finals year after year. They were both lefties. It seemed like one of the Bradford brothers, there was like Bucky Bradford and Tiny Bradford or whatever, one of them was left-handed. I think it might have been Tiny. But, you could count the left-handers on one hand usually forever.
I'm great at picking my nose with my right hand. I can barely even pick my nose with my left hand. Don't feel natural to me.
I always could tie pretty good. I tied more fast steers left-handed than I ever did right-handed.
Well,
And more,
I made fewer mistakes right-handed than left-handed, but everybody ties the fastest steer on left-hand because it's just faster when everything's going right. You get there faster.
Yeah.
Get to that
you're
foot
not
faster.
having to duck under or step over or whatever.
I prefer to right-hand tie because I feel like I tied the biggest percentage of my cattle down on the right-hand tie. Plus, I was right-handed and I could tie faster on my right-hand tie. But left-hand tie, I think most guys prefer a left-hand tie now because it's faster.
I could actually tie faster left-handed. I practiced that a lot because it was kind of a weak spot, and you overcompensate by practicing. And
I'm going to start picking my nose with my left hand, get it more accurate.
Yeah, all you got to do is
Get
practice,
ambidextrous
Coach.
with it, ain't it? I'll tell you, okay, here's another one that was left-handed. I forgot all about because he finally just said to hell with it and went to roping right-handed. Barry Braden, another one I grew up with.
Yeah.
That was crazy back then. There was me, Alan, and Barry, 3 left-handers, and we're all within a year's age of one another. And hell, you don't, like I said, you don't even see lefties around anymore.
No, they make them rope by hand.
Nope.
Well, and I never got comfortable with one of those left-handed ropes either.
You learn how to rope with a right-handed rope, curl up
that's
left-handed.
What it felt, that's what felt
That's
right.
what felt good to you.
Explain the difference. What is a left-handed rope?
Instead of the way it's, right-handed
twist it
rope is
backwards.
spun that way, left-handed rope is spun that way, but what they do is they turn it on reverse.
Yeah.
Let it run backwards to itself. So it's basically how the old-timers used to tie picking string. So, wrong thing hits, the whole thing will just went and come apart. Mm-hmm. So one time I had one that the eye tried to turn on it, so I cut that eye out and was going to put a new eye in it and just going to use it as practice rope. Well, hell, the whole thing just came unstrung on me. I'm like, okay, you're doing that like a picking string. So, yeah, I never got with the left-handed ropes.
Well, crud. What do you got for him now, Jimbo?
Well, I was going to ask him Mount Rushmore.
Let's go local ropers.
Yeah,
Osage County ropers.
County, Mount Rushmore, if you had to put 4 names up there.
4 names. Let me
Ropers.
see.
Does it matter
Ropers.
what they're roping? I don't think
No,
it matters.
just ropers.
It's
Just
going to be a
ropers.
tough one.
Oh, gosh.
This is going to be a tough one.
Well,
my
like
Lord.
I said,
How you going to narrow that one down to 4, Joe?
I'd have to put first of all, my hero, Johnny Joe. Like I said, you can tell. I know him as Johnny Joe. Everybody else is Johnny Miller. He's Johnny Joe to me.
Yeah, me too.
Me too, yeah. And I'd have to put Henry Grammer up there. From the
We never
old
even
days.
talked about Henry.
Because I've grew up hearing Henry Grammer stories too.
Yeah, we got to talk about him before we call
And
this
then-
thing quits.
It'd be a toss up with me on number 3, either your granddad or little Joe.
I guess the father-son could be almost the same one.
Yeah, you put them all as one.
Two-headed.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll allow that.
Okay.
We'll allow it.
Okay.
2 for 1.
Okay.
That don't happen very often, but
Yeah,
it is father-son.
Right.
That's 3. We'll go with 3 there. Let me think of number 4. Oh, hell, I'd have to just go with my old man.
That's all right.
I don't blame you.
Who taught me, taught me everything I know.
Talk about your dad and your Uncle Dugan. They did some real serious.
I'm surprised you didn't put
Combat.
Joel on there. I'm surprised you didn't put Joel on there.
Oh, now, guys my age, now that's, you're talking now, later on, once I'm dead and gone, y'all can come up with a different Mount Rushmore. But
That's a respectable one. I like it,
yeah,
Joe.
yeah.
But your dad and Uncle Dugan, they saw some serious action in World War II, didn't they?
Oh, did they ever?
They were war heroes.
Yeah. Dad, we talked a lot about it, but I never did just ask him, why did you do 2 tours?
Yeah.
He survived 2 tours in the Pacific and in Europe. 63 bombing missions. A B-24 bomber.
Now, was he a tail gunner or?
A bombardier and mechanic.
I'd always heard Dugan was a tail gunner.
Uncle Dugan was also a co-pilot in a B-25 Mitchell.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they were flyboys.
Yeah. Boy, to survive that many missions, that's...
Yeah. Dad, okay, I've got a picture of one where they made it in on 2 engines. Everything, you know, just shot up, and it didn't explode. That was one of Dad's wrecks that he lived through. But yeah, 63 bombing missions.
How scary would that be? Holy moly.
Man.
Just the percussion from the other bombs going off around you, shaking
Black
the plane.
and all that.
And you know you're on borrowed time. I mean, you're just going to survive so many of those
Well, you're
missions.
seeing all the other ones out the window going down right beside you, I'm sure. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's something else now.
That's when men were men right
Well,
there.
I've always heard what
moly.
heroes they were, and I just wanted Joe to touch on that a little bit.
The one Distinguished Service Cross, and forget how many little oak leaf clusters was on it. Air Medal, Pacific and Europe Medal. Just, you know, a whole chest full of stuff. But he never had a Purple Heart. Mm-hmm. And like I said, in both Europe and the Pacific. Yeah, from 41, 44, and then even survived a bout of malaria. Got, you know, sent home and recuperated and went back. And back then there were a lot of people from here that were staying out in California. A lot of our boys would stay out there with some of them back then. And then, Uncle Dugan, like I said, he was a B-25 and a B-25 Mitchell. Whatever Dad did, Uncle Dugan had to try to one-up. And then Uncle Dugan, he served on the council like I have. He was on 2 or 3 terms, I think. And then Dad, he worked at Phillips for 32 years out in the oil patch. And Mom was a curator of the museum.
Right.
And I leave out my brother. I forget about my brother. Lost him back in 71.
I remember your brother. Mm-hmm. He was older than me, but I remember.
Yeah, Johnny. Let me see. Who's his age? He's around. Let me see. I think Joe's just about 2 or 3 years older than Johnny. Johnny graduated in 67.
Yeah.
And I think y'all, like Johnny Joe graduated in 66, and George Carter around in there, and Joe. But like I said, grew up around all them guys. Just remember that. Sure. And you know what? It's what I've always heard from the guys before me, that of all of them of that age, Charlie Whitehorn was the most talented of all.
I've heard a lot of people talk about how good he could have wrote.
Maybe Charlie, yep. He was the most talented of all of them. Yep. Hard to believe, but then again, it ain't.
Yeah.
Because I remember
his dad wrote good.
Oh, yeah. His
I've always
dad
heard.
was left-hander.
I never saw his dad wrote, but I've heard people tell me. My dad told me he wrote pretty good.
Because, you know, that generation was calf ropers, most of them. You know, there were a lot of guys that roped calves back then.
Right.
A lot of guys. I mean, here's what used to tickle me. The Indian guy's dad told me about that rope calves. I'm like, really? Yeah. You see, Mick Kennedy used to rope calves good. Buddy Gray used to rope calves good. Who else? Oh, even Sam Groom roped. Well, he's not a white guy, but he used to be an insurance guy. He used to rope calves.
Another guy wrote back then was George Mongrain.
Oh, yeah, Mongrain. Yep, Mongrain. Well,
good.
Mongrain was Osage. He even wrote books.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah. George was something else.
Yeah.
That's one of Dad's old buds.
Yeah.
He was, he was paratrooper.
Was he?
Yeah, he's paratrooper, I believe. Because one time was back over in Europe and sent Dad some postcards. And some of the places they'd been, when they were in war.
Used to be a lot of Osages rope good, it seems like.
Yeah, they did. Of course, now
it's the Navajos. They're all roper. It'd have been nice if they were roping back then like they are now, so we could have had an Osage versus Navajo match.
We'd work them. They wouldn't want none of Maker and Justin Mayer, Paul Ayer, any of the Indian boys from around here. Hey, back in the day, if you wasn't partnered with an Indian guy at one of these jackpots around here, you probably wasn't going to win anything. That's just how it was. The minorities ruled.
What about we spoke about Henry Grammer? He's on your Mount Rushmore. Mm-hmm. What What puts him on your Mount Rushmore? And tell everybody who he is real quick.
He was a early day world's champion from back then, and one of the first guys from here in Osage County. And hell, even whenever he was like in prison, they got him out of prison to go like Judge Fort Worth or something. I mean, he was, back in the turn of the century cowboys and all, he was really well thought of then, and one of the champions of that era. Back when they roped real cattle.
Right.
God, what about some of them pictures of Bob Crosby and the wrecks he took?
I know. I got one on my phone.
Whew.
He had his leg broke like 4 or 5 times
Yeah.
from getting a horse jerked down.
Dad actually got to see that poultice thing that they
Really?
talk about. Yeah, he back in the day at Johnny Lee's, back when they had Johnny Lee's Wills the Spring Rodeo at Tulsa at the fairgrounds. Dad said he was a contract act back then. He'd come out on horseback cutting cattle without a bridle. Yeah. Horse just out there and said, yeah, he was wearing that thing, then that poultice. Dad said, oh, it stunk.
Imagine.
But it kept him from losing his legs. Whatever worked for him.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Bob Wills over here?
No, I just got to see Johnny Lee whenever he was still whenever it became the Johnny Lee Wills Stampede. He'd usually lead the grand entry, on his silver mounted saddle and all that. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. Let me see. I got to make one of the Bob Wills reunion things or whatever that Delwick put on. But Johnny Lee was already gone by then. But whenever they had something out here at the fairground.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Yep.
Old Philip Fortune had something to do with it, too.
Yep.
I roped in the roping.
It was during his Hall of Fame roping, I felt, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Delbert Kyler, he was going to put
in
him.
the fall, I remember.
Yeah.
But it was Johnny Lee or Bob Wills reunion, and they had this jackpot steer roping to go.
They had a
with.
jackpot steer roping going
And they
on.
had a
The
team
exact
roping, too.
same time they had the band playing in the corner of the track, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a team roping too. Because we had the arena split in half.
The arena was split.
Yeah.
Sure was.
Because we were team roping at the back end and they were tripping at the other end. Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. That's sure fun. That Henry Grammer, they said the warden liked him so much in the prison in Montana he was at, they gave him a horse and a saddle to ride back down here to Osage County on.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I know Uncle Mark had a court and headstall that he made whenever he's up there in prison in Montana. That's one of the family heirlooms of the family.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it through the years. A lot of people seen that thing hanging around. Mm-hmm. They
It'd be
said,
like having something Tom Horn braided before he went to the gallows. I've seen pictures of him braiding a horsehair bridle or something,
right? Yeah, everyone's going to know about Henry. Did they show Henry in any of the movie?
Yeah. That's who Sturgill Simpson plays.
He was the king of the Osage for a while because he had 500-gallon moonshine still or bigger. They said going.
That's one version. Sturgill plays him in the movie. Let me see.
Grammy Award winning musician. Mm-hmm. Seemed like I sold him a buffalo coat right here in the museum.
Oh, cool.
And then Jay Adcock sold him a quirt right here in the museum.
All right.
He used the quirt in the movie. Is the one he carried on his side.
Yep, that's right, yeah. What else? Let me see. Okay, and Jason Isbell, he played Bill Smith, the couple that gets blown up.
Okay.
Let's see, who was his wife?
That was kind of a wild story on that. They just seemed like they didn't care, didn't think they were ever going to get caught at that point because they went from poisoning people or shooting someone out in the country to just blowing their house up in the middle of town. That's just, that's pretty brazen.
How did Bill Hill get out of prison as quick as he did?
The friends that he had in higher places.
I don't know if I've ever told this story on the podcast or not, but
You haven't, Jimbo.
I think it was the late 40s. Jim was in Billings, Montana at a steer roping with Everett Shaw. They were eating in a cafe. And a lady came over there to him, the waitress, and said, "Are you Jim Snidely from Pawhuska?" He said, "Yes." She said, "Well, we've got a guy back in works in our kitchen. He's from Pawhuska, and he wants to meet you." And Jim said, or somebody said, "Well, who is it?" He said, "It's Bill Hill." and he wouldn't go back there and meet him when he found out who it was.
Wow.
But then Alan Keller said, when we were talking about Bill Hill, he said, yeah, he used to wash dishes in Montana.
That's what he said.
Yeah, he
That's
knew
what
the
Alan
same
Keller
thing.
told us. So it must be a
Small
lot of
world,
truth to it.
ain't it?
But then I think he went to work for Benny Binion. And may have, because Binion had a ranch in Montana.
Yeah.
And he may have been working for him after that, after the dishwashing deal. But Jim didn't want nothing to do with him after he found out who it was.
Yeah. Alan would come back here with Johnny Joe back in the day.
Yeah.
'Cause I can remember he went up to the museum. He had some Navajo rugs. He made some deals or something on them. He took some Navajo rugs up to the museum, show Mom, see if they wanted to buy any of them or whatever. I can remember that from years ago.
I took him to Willow Rock here the Friday before the Ben Johnson, and he was enamored by those Navajo rugs.
Well,
they have
yeah,
over there.
he knew what they
"That's
was."
He said, that's a chief's blanket. You know, and I didn't know chief's blanket from,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, he knew what he was
He knew
looking
those
at.
rugs.
Yeah, yeah. You know, if you've read about them or whatever, you know, read novels or books about them, you get over to Willow Rock, you'll recognize them. Like, okay, that's the one that, you know,
Yeah.
Chief's version
Yeah.
or like Germantown, whenever they started getting different colors to their yarn and
Right.
different,
Right. Yeah.
different-
Alan knew all about that.
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, we've seen him on a lot of movies and televisions. What was it like to meet Leonardo DiCaprio in person? What kind of fella is he?
Oh, he's a nice guy. You know, kind of off in his own little world most of the time.
Biggest star in the world, I imagine.
Yeah.
He's in his own little
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
You know, and DiNero, he's another one that he's kind of in character the whole time whenever he's there. And the ones that would visit with you the most was Jesse and Ty and Lily and Cara Jade. They're the ones that you want to visit with and hang out with. Best little deal that I had going on for me was Friday night before our premiere down at Tulsa. Cousin put on a little gathering down at McBurney Mansion. So me and my wife and friend got to go there and hang out with everybody. And I'm the only one that had a pack of cigarettes, and everybody wanted to smoke, so we had a little smoking area going. So we had, some good conversations going the rest of the night, sitting there having drinks and smoking cigarettes. So it was a pretty fun time.
Word got through the party. Hey, Joe got cigarettes out there.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's one thing about Hollywood. They still smoke.
Yeah.
Hollywood still smokes. Oh yeah.
Well, that's a diet, I guess, for him.
Oh, and
So
now,
they'll-
here's something else that was crazy. It was always a mask on, mask off, mask on, mask off. Because that was all
Yeah.
during COVID when all that was going on. You'd wind up hearing about the people that wound up coming down with it, and they would never get to show back up either. It seems like if you came down with one version of COVID back then, you were usually kind of done then. I'm lucky it never happened to me.
It was a wild time.
It was.
A wild time. They'll be talking about it for
We'll never see anything
centuries.
like that again.
No.
Let-
We might see an indie production of some
Right.
sort, but nothing. I mean, this was.
Well, they just had Twister go through.
Yeah,
They filmed
yeah.
on a bunch of the Drummond Ranch and
yeah,
stuff
we
out.
didn't even hardly know about it. I mean, this was this was on the scale of Dances with Wolves or Lawrence of Arabia or
Oh, yeah.
Ben-Hur or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
there was
It's going to go down in one of the great movies in cinematic
Sometimes
history.
there'd be 300 of us, just background people dressed up.
How do you think it'll do during Oscar season?
I think it's gonna garner its share. I really do. If Lily doesn't wind up Best Actor, something's wrong. I think Cara Jade should get a look at it for supporting.
It's going to make a clean sweep.
Cinematography, definitely. Costumes. There'll probably be people that will be more impressed with Leo and DiNero's work than I was, but then, hell, when you grow up around it, hearing it all your life and hearing it from your folks and grandparents and all, you kind of got a little different perspective about it, Yeah, would I have done some stuff differently? Yeah, but I mean, it's not my money. I didn't put it together. I didn't have $300 million. I'm just happy and proud I got to work on it. Got to finally, work on a movie and found out I could do it. That was the main thing. Even as old as I am, it was still, something I'd never done before. So it's like, I'm in.
That's your
new
John Wayne
territory.
moment right there.
Yeah. New territory, but I found out hell I could, Like I said, I'm too used to, I've been performing around Pawhuska and Osage County since I was 7, 8 years old. So, just another part of it.
We're
enjoy
proud
doing
of
it.
you that you was in that movie.
Well, thank y'all.
Hey, if anyone needs any props for their movies, get a hold of Joe over here. He'll
Yes.
whip you some up.
Oh, yeah.
Authentic, too.
Definitely.
What's your hat band there, Joe?
Okay, now here I get this.
Wrong
go on
team, I
about
can
this.
see already, but
This
that's
this
right.
is actually for my tribe and in this part of the world. This is my invention. This finger woven hat band. It's what my mother used to do and my wife does now. I was a little old kid, 5, 6 years old, watching them westerns back when whenever we were growing up, looking at them hat bands, all them cowboys were wearing. I'd outgrown a little woven belt that Mom had made for me, and I got to looking at it. And next thing you know, I put it around my hat and walked in there and looked at Mom. She, just a light bulb went off, and she sewed it together in the back, and the finger woven hat band.
this is
Came of
the
age.
traditional Osage style then and everything.
We're the only tribe that requires finger weaving for our outfits. Everybody else can get by with beadwork, stuff like that, but we're the only tribe that does finger weaving. But what was really cool was very first scenes I got to work with over at the depot. There's Leo with his cowboy hat on, and he's got a hat band on, finger woven hat band. I'm like, hey, there's my creation. All right. 50 years too early, but hey, what the heck, Yeah. Oh, and once down there at McBurney, whenever we were partying with them, hanging out, I got to tell Leo about it. I said, oh, and this right here, this is my invention. Remember that? Oh, yeah, I had that on in my hat. I said, yep. I said, around here, I'm known as the inventor. All of 5 or 6 years old, But hey, that's 50-some years ago now, so. Time flies, y'all.
When
Sure
you're
does.
having fun.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, we sure appreciate you coming on, Joe.
You bet. I enjoyed it. I'm glad we got to do it. And you want to do it again talking about how Osage County used to be? We'll do some more. I'm up for it.
You remember all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Surprisingly, you remember all that good stuff.
I know it. Yeah, I've had my head banged in a time or two, but I still remember. Especially the crew I ran with. Oh, my goodness.
Yep, the rough ones, Paul Lee. And Paul Lee was the roughest one, probably.
Oh, no, them Carmen boys was the roughest.
Yeah.
Let's get things straight.
Yeah, didn't one of them poke a guy's eye out with a pitchfork
Carmen
one day or
boys.
something?
Oh, man.
Holy moly.
The
They
wild
were wild.
Uchies.
Hey,
My neighbors.
right before we sign off here, there used to be a bar west of town called the Y Bar.
Here's
We might save that one for another day.
here's a proof positive of the Y bar.
Yeah. Yep.
What
What year is it on that?
1984.
Yeah.
A gist, too. Now, you don't think I wasn't tall cotton back then wearing a gist. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, man, the Y bar was a good arena to me. My home arena, win something there, and then go to the bar and hang out. And just want to turn the horse loose, say, go to the house.
They're just down the dirt road from you.
Oh,
wasn't it?
yeah. Oh, and for all my Indian friends, that was the first 49 I ever went to. That's a little party after the dances.
I've always heard of them, and I've never been to
Yeah,
one.
oh, well, the only reason why I went, so I was coming home from a roping and couldn't get through.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
blocked. I'm like, hell, I might as well just get out and party with everybody. I know
I'm
everybody
surprised
here.
you've never been to one.
At that time, that was, but then after that, I've been to many since
Oh,
then.
okay.
Yeah.
That was just your
He
first.
said I was all about that
Okay.
time.
That
I
was
got
that
you.
very first one. Like I said, I just kind of got caught in the traffic. And leave my horse alone, and I'll come party with you.
Do they still have those, or is that a thing of the past?
It's kind of a thing of the past now. Yeah. They got too wild.
Yeah.
Last one I went to was, oh gosh, maybe 90, 91, 92, somewhere in there. It was at the bullpens. Why, it was from the bullpens clear back to the second cattle guard. That's how many people were out there.
They had them down in Hominy, too.
Oh, yeah. I remember just, coming in and it was daylight.
49er.
They used to have an old event here called the swap meet. You know anything about that thing?
Just drove by it.
It was one of the original biker rallies in the
It
United
was one of
States.
the original biker things. And they'd have it sometimes the same time they'd have a club
Club
trip.
roping, yeah.
And you'd hear, you know,
Oh, yeah.
you'd hear what was going on over there. And
Some of it
whoa.
wasn't family friendly
No,
either, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you could
that
hear
was-
their sound system.
I went to
over
one of
there.
the last ones they had out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can remember. Oh, all you girls line up for the such and such contest.
Right.
Okay.
Or you guys line up for the big, daddy contest.
Holy moly, we're getting way off track.
Just earlier that morning, they'd had like cowboy church there at the arena or whatever. Like, whoa, wonder how this is working today.
Oh, man.
Ooh, there's been some wild stuff going on around here. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, I know it. And, and we ain't going to get to see it like it was back then. Things are, you can't get away with all that stuff because somebody's going to post it on the phone 30 minutes from now.
Yep. Facebook,
You
there
make
you
an
go.
ass out of yourself, everybody's going to know it nowadays.
Yep.
They already knew it anyway on me, Jimbo. I'm glad that the video evidence isn't around.
Or if
Right.
you're in another world and not even know it, well, they're going, hey, guess what you did? Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, crud, man. Joe, we could sit here and tell stuff all day long, but
yes, I could.
we're going to start telling on ourselves here in a minute.
Yeah.
So we better cut her short. And everybody be sure and like us, share us on Facebook. Tell somebody about the podcast. We're just trying to keep all this old history alive.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Like I said, anytime y'all want to do some more, I'm all for it.
You got it. We're going to have you back in.
All righty.
You and Paul Lee.
Thank you.
You and Paul Lee. Paul Lee, you're next.
We're going to get, I'll talk Maker into coming up one of these times. Or if he's in town, I'll get a hold of him. I won't let him leave till I get him in here.
Perfect. Sounds great. That's going to be one for the books. One of my
Oh, yeah.
heroes.
Oh, yeah. We can ever get Joel in here.
Ropingest man to ever live, probably. All right, everyone. We'll see y'all next week.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage.